So the criminal cases against the insurrectionists are now being set for trial well into the year 2022. Why so far off? Does justice delayed equal justice denied? Let's talk about that. Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So you've probably seen that many of the cases against the insurrectionists, that is the people who attacked the Capitol on January 6th, are being set for trial well into the year 2022. And people are understandably asking, why in the world are they being pushed that far down the road? Why aren't we taking these men and women to trial sooner? There are actually a number of reasons for that. Let me try to break them down. First of all, the cases are being prosecuted by the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia. That's the D.C. field office of the Department of Justice. That's where I worked for nearly a quarter of a century. And in federal court in Washington, D.C., my former office typically brings about 400 to 500 criminal cases each year. Now, on top of that, there are some 500, nearly 600, perhaps soon to be 700 cases against insurrectionists. So the reality is that the court is being stretched thin. The prosecutors at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, D.C. are being stretched thin, even though they've been supplemented by additional prosecutors that have been provided by the Maine Department of Justice. But it is a challenge for the system to handle double and perhaps triple the normal caseload of criminal cases is in any given year. Of course, COVID has complicated matters well beyond just the increase in the caseload, because we're not yet running trials, live and in person. And so that is something that the court is struggling with, and hopefully in the near future, the court will be in a position to run trials live the way they always used to pre-COVID. The next reason that these cases get pushed off for trial so far in the future is the prosecutors will provide in discovery a whole bunch of information, evidence, documents, videotapes, electronic information, social media information, cell phones, cell sites, etc., to the defendants. And once all of that discovery is received by the defense attorney, he or she will get a considerable amount of time to pore through it, to conduct their own investigation of the evidence presented to them by the prosecutors. They will get to hire their own expert witnesses, if appropriate, and have those experts pore through the evidence and spend some time with it to determine if the defense might want to present expert testimony on any of these issues. They are then given time to prepare their case for trial, and then they go to trial. So that's another reason there is often quite a bit of delay built into the system from the time somebody is indicted until they finally go to trial. Now, there are speedy trial rules in court. You've probably heard about the right to a speedy trial. And in federal court, here's what that right means. From the time you're arrested until the time you're indicted, the prosecutors have 30 days. From arrest to indictment. Once you're indicted, the prosecutors by law have 70 days to take you to trial. So that's 100 days. So you're probably saying, okay, Glenn, well then how in the world are they pushing these cases into 2022 for trial? Good question. The speedy trial deadline is really only honored in the breach. What do I mean by that? Well, even though the federal law says you get that 100-day period from arrest to trial, there are lots of ways for the parties, the defense and the prosecutors, to toll or pause or stop the speedy trial clock from running. I won't go through the many ways that can be done, but let me just tell you, in all of my years as a prosecutor, I'm not sure I ever saw a case in federal court go to trial within 100 days. I'm sure it's happened. So here's the other thing. The speedy trial rights belong to the defendant. So you know what the defendant can do? he or she can waive his or her right to a speedy trial. Say, I am not interested in going to trial that quickly. My attorney needs more time to prepare. We need to go through the discovery. We need to consider hiring expert witnesses, etc., etc. And so often the defendant will just waive the speedy trial clock. So the prosecutors will not be laboring under that 100-day time frame. And here's the thing. I have always said, when it comes to going to trial, prosecutors always want to go to trial yesterday, and defense attorneys always want to go to trial tomorrow. Why? Because the more time that passes between an arrest and a trial, the more likely it is that witnesses' memories will fade, that evidence might be misplaced, it might end up missing, it might be destroyed inadvertently by police departments. I mean, there are any number of reasons that prosecutors want to go to trial sooner rather than later, while all of the evidence is fresh, while all of the witnesses' memories are strong, rather than having it drag on and drag on and drag on. Let me give you one concrete example. I had a trial that dragged on for quite some time before we could get going, and in the interim, I had a very important eyewitness die of a heart attack, completely unrelated to his participation in my case, and I was deprived of that evidence. I mean, the poor gentleman passed away unexpectedly. I then was not able to present his testimony because he could not be available to be cross-examined. So there are lots of reasons prosecutors want to go to trial sooner rather than later. There are lots of reasons defense attorneys want to push it off well into the future because they think that will work to their advantage in any number of ways. Please know that's not a criticism of defense attorneys. This is just the way the system tends to operate. So folks, the reality is, even though the law, specifically 18 United States Code 3161, provides that prosecutors need to get to trial within 100 days, 30 days from arrest to indictment, 70 days from indictment to trial. That rarely happens in the federal system, and it is often the defendant and the defense attorney themselves who want to put the trial well into the future. And yes, we can ask ourselves the question, is justice delayed? Justice denied? Let's hope the answer to that question is no. And let's hope that these men and women who attacked the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, who tried to undermine our very democracy, are held accountable for their crimes. Because justice matters. As always, folks, thank you for tuning into these daily videos. If you'd like to more formally support our all-volunteer efforts, our mission, our content here at Justice Matters, if you want to become a member of Team Justice proper, feel free to come over and join us on patreon.com. You can sign up to become a patron, and if you do, I will send you some Team Justice stickers and a personal handwritten note of thanks. And as always, folks, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.